Welcome to the Belfry and Week 7 on the American Golf Championship Tour as we continue to follow the fortunes of this year's grand finalists here on Sky Sports. It's been a fantastic season so far with over 7,500 players accessing golf in its many different forms at our free-to-enter qualifiers and golf shows across the UK and Ireland on one of the most diverse golf tours on the planet. So far, we've crowned champions in 14 different categories, starting out in the Junior Championship at Gainsborough Golf Club, then in the Long Drive Championship at Haythrop Park, the official UK qualifier for the World Finals in the USA. Over the last 3 weeks, we've been here at the Belfry for the Adventure Golf, Par 3, Family and Ladies tournaments. And last week, Martin Leo and Ian Hendry successfully defended their senior title, only the second title defence since the tour began, after Rebecca McGinley's long drive double in 2015 and 2016. Martin and Ian once again found some terrific form on the Brabazon, Ian securing the win with this putt at the 16th in the match play final to claim the trophy, the title and their ticket to the American Golf Tournament of Champions in Mauritius. Leo and Hendry then the 14th champions to take their place on the Tour Honours Board, leaving just 3 more titles up for grabs in this bumper season. So on we go as a brand new event joins this year's calendar, the 9-hole Individual Championship, which will be followed next week by the ever-popular 9-hole pairs event, and another debut tournament after that as the elite amateurs arrive at the Belfry for the eagerly anticipated Scratch Championship. And just before Christmas, we'll unwrap our season review, a journey through the best of the best this year to conclude the American Golf Championship Tour. We've got some great golf to look forward to on today's show, but before we meet the players, here's Matt Bacon, Events Manager with American Golf, to tell us more about the new tournament.
This week, the Individual Championship is another new event to our calendar. Time is a factor that prevents people from going out these days and playing a full 18 holes and taking a day out of their busy schedules. So the American Golf Tour wanted to find a format that was more accessible for people to go out there and play a 9-hole game in 2 to 3 hours. The Individual Championship gives the players a chance to test their skills head to head, strip it back to the basics, There's no room for error. We're really proud of the fact that our tour was one of the first to actually include 9-hole championship. It's about taking less time to play the sport that we love.
And this is the format for the grand final of the Individual Championship. The players play 3 rounds of 9 holes with Stableford scoring off 9/10 of their handicap. And after that qualification phase, the top 4 players go through to a final day and the 9-hole knockout match play semi-finals and finals played on the Brabazon. Time now to head to the first tee on the PGA National course now though, where Gemma Kerr is with some of the players.
What's the experience been like for you so far?
I've really enjoyed it. I really want to do well today because the end prize is really good to go out to Mauritius, which would be absolutely fantastic, so I'm going to give my best. Gave up golf for about 9 years then because I had to go to university and then my job didn't give me weekends free, so I've just started playing again this year up at Baxenden, got myself a handicap 13 and managed to qualify for this today.
I've been playing golf now for probably about 20 years, been a member of Penn for 15 years. And this year I'm actually club captain, so it's a big honour for me to represent Penn this year in the American Golf Challenge.
And how does it feel to be here at the Belfry ready to play?
It feels fantastic. It's a fantastic opportunity for your average club golfer.
And what would it mean for you if you were to do well or even win?
It would mean a hell of a lot.
What do you do when you're not playing golf?
Look after the family. I've got 3 daughters, 16, 12 and 7, so most weekends I'm out with those.
So I'm sure they're rooting for you.
Yes, they are. Really looking forward to it. I've texted the wife today to say I'm about to come off, so looking forward to it.
I had a near fatal car accident back in 2010. Was playing a decent level of football back up in Scotland and just took up the sport, given that I couldn't play football anymore. So 6 years down the line, here I am.
And what are your expectations for this tournament?
To make the weekend would be fantastic. Obviously everybody wants to go to Mauritius, but I'll be realistic about it and hopefully put in a good score just to have a chance to make the weekend.
Have you done any preparations specifically for
Yes,
today?
I've been on the range for about 2 hours this morning, trying to get. Plus I've been in the bunkers to try and get out the bunkers because that's my bad part of my game. But now I'm really looking forward to it. Really looking forward to the challenge.
Tell me a little bit about how you play on the course. Do you have any tactics or a game plan?
Yes, I try and play to my handicap and not get too carried away and go hitting it wild, and you can't at the Belfry anyway, so you'll lose your ball. So.
Well, and we don't want that to happen, Lawrence. Now, this year's individual grand final marks a special moment for one of American Golf's designated charities. The On-Course Foundation provides rehabilitation for injured servicemen and women through the sport of golf. This year, in the 9-hole individual championship, 2 OCF players qualified for the Belfry by right, Ian Temperley and Stuart Harris.
I'm an ex-serviceman. I'm involved with the On-Course Golf Foundation, who are here at this tournament the next couple of days as well. They've helped me through, suffer from PTSD, so something like golf helps me with getting through a normal day-to-day struggle, forgets about what else is going on in my life and just worry about golf. And you know, American Golf has been great because it's a free event, which is unknown.
And how does it feel to be here at the Belfry?
It's very surreal. 3 lovely courses here. You're walking about and all, about the clubhouse, about the greens and that, taking pictures of where you go. It's a real nice experience.
I was unfortunately blown up in Afghanistan in 2012. The On-Course Foundation came along to the hospital in Headley Court and said, do you fancy hitting a few balls? And at the time I was blind, I hadn't had steroids in my eyes yet. And I said, I'm blind, I'm not sure if I can. They said, yeah, we've got other guys that are blind. So went down to the driving range, hit a few balls, and it just really felt really good. And then we started tweaking around and stuff, and then I had some steroids in my good eye, and I was able to hold my own a little bit more. And things built a little bit from there. I started to maybe look for a bit of employability, and they helped me with that. So I came here last year and I worked with a company called Mediate Marketing, and that led me to a job at marketing with Bentley later on. And then eventually when I got better physically, we went to a few nice golf courses. I've played everywhere, done Royal Lytham, Royal Birkdale with the On-Course Foundation. We get spoilt rotten, and just things have gone from strength to strength, giving me confidence. And now I work with companies like Bentley, McLaren and Rolls-Royce and stuff. It's really good. I saw this competition come up again and I thought I'd go for it, and I actually qualified. So here I am as a player this time, yeah, so it's cool, it's good, it's really good.
Time for some news from the prelim phase now, starting with the first 9 holes on day 1. Mark Gilder played some good golf to join Ian Temperley and Matthew Pyatt on 15 points, tied in 8th place. Sharing 6th place, Sean Holding and Ben Tobin were 1 better on 16 points. But sitting in that top 4 qualification zone were 5 players. Tied second on 17 points, Stuart Harris had a fantastic round. Off a handicap of 21 and very new to tournament golf, it was a breakthrough day for the On-Course Foundation golfer. Dean Scott, off 12, played very well tee to green, and if he starts holing putts on day 2, he could be a real contender for the semi-finals, let alone the championship. 10 handicapper REECE Hunt was the only southpaw to make it to the top of the leaderboard on day 1, also coming in with 17 points. And 7 handicapper Jason Owen completed the 4-way tie in second, playing some very tidy golf and definitely with one eye on a final day spot in the match play phase. But it was Penn Golf Club captain Steve Holmes who bossed the first 9 holes on the PGA National. Well, bossed them by a single point, but good enough for the 12 handicapper to lead going into day 2. Confirmation then of our round 1 leaderboard in the 9-hole individual championship, and there really is nothing between the players. 2 9-hole rounds on the Brabazon to come tomorrow, and we could be looking at a very different picture. Plenty of work still to be done for any players serious about making the last day shootout for the title. In round 2 on the front 9 of the Brabazon, it became clear that the players occupying the top spots were going to be difficult to budge. The only new name to move into contention was 17 handicapper Matthew Pyatt, whose 16 points were good enough to push him into a share of 4th place, with Stuart Harris and Dean Scott on 31 points. A point better off and in 3rd place was Jason Owen after a solid 15 points to back up his round 1 17. But our top 2 players created what could prove to be a decisive cushion. On 34 points, REECE Hunt moved into 2nd. But still leading after 2 rounds thanks to consistent scoring, Steve Holmes played to his handicap for another 18 points to leave him on a commanding 36 and looking very good for the top 4 and a semi-final place. So 18 holes down and another 9 to go before our match play top 4 lineup is confirmed. And as things stand, 6 players currently sit in the qualification zone, with Sean holding just 1 point off the pace as the players headed onto the back 9 of the Brabazon. Emerging at the top of the leaderboard after the last qualification round and sharpening their skills for the knockout phase were 4 players who shut the door on the rest of the field. Dean Scott shot a last round 18 to cover his meagre 14 points earlier in the day, through on 49. Having led for the first 18, Steve Holmes had a temporarily worrying fall from grace with a 14-pointer on the last 9, but his final tally of 50 points overall still good enough to make top 4. Also on 50 points, but through in second place on countback, a jubilant Reece Hunt, all smiles now, but he'll have his game face on tomorrow for the semis, where he'll face Steve Holmes. And already with his game face on by the looks of it, Jason Owen, also with 50 points, finished top on countback. Looking more Statham than Owen, he produced an action hero finish and the celebration to match. It looks like it's going to be a fantastic shootout for the title on the last day, as number 1 seed Jason Owen takes on 4th seed Dean Scott, and 2nd seed Reece Hunt will have his work cut out against number 3 seed Steve Holmes. Match play semi-final action coming up after the break from the American Golf 9-hole Individual Championship, right here on Sky Sports. Welcome back to the Belfry and action from the final day of the American Golf 9-hole Individual Championship. Our top 4 players are through to the knockout match play phase, with a place at the Tournament of Champions in Mauritius awaiting the winner. And here's the lineup for the semis on the front 9 of the Brabazon. Number 1 seed Jason Owen takes on number 4 seed Dean Scott, and then 2nd seed Reece Hunt meets the player who led for the first 2 rounds, 3rd seed Steve Holmes. Semi-final 1 about to get underway. Gemma Kerr spoke to the players on the first tee.
What does it feel like to be here at the Belfry about to take part in the semi-finals?
Amazing, to be honest. Amazing. I didn't think I'd get this far, so I'm quite shocked. So some of my friends as well, so it's quite nice.
Do you have any expectations for the day today?
No.
A game plan?
Win or lose, just enjoy it.
You're literally about to step up to the tee, so what's going on in your mind?
Blank. Cool as a cucumber. Hit it, hope it goes down the middle.
Amazing. Play well.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
It's been brilliant. It's going to be quite nerve-wracking in the next few moments, but so far it's been really good. Yeah, enjoyed it thoroughly.
And what's your game plan?
To beat the other guy, really. It's as simple as that. I mean, you know, the guy I'm playing is a very good player, very steady. So at the end of the day, it's just it's man against man. So whereas before it's been about playing the course, it's now about playing the man.
Wise words there from Dean, and the mindset definitely does change when it comes to match play. 2 good drives at the first, but after that it was a horror show for both players. Scott all over the place, and Owen, with a duff chip at the front of the green, has left himself with this very long outside chance to win the hole. Well, good roll, but it's going to finish short. No gimmies at the moment from these two, and there's a bit of meat on the bone for both players. But I think Owen just a little further away. Yes, he is. You can see the marker of Dean Scott just the other side of the hole. And Jason has to roll this one in if he wants to force his opponent to putt for a half. Well done, well holed. A bogey start then for Jason Owen. Any mind games afoot? Is he going to tell Dean Scott to pick up? No, he certainly isn't. There we go then. Battle lines drawn at the first hole. This for half then. And tapped in by Dean Scott. The players move to the second, all square. Level pegging down the second to the green, where both players found themselves with the same line to the hole. Jason Owen with the longer putt rolled his in. Still all smiles and enjoying his time in front of the camera. Dean Scott with the read and nowhere near as much work made the half. Still all square coming down the par 5 third and over the water. Dean on the green, and then Jason punched one in close to the pin for advantage. And that was enough to get Jason flapping his wings for takeoff. One of those interesting match play moments. So this is a putt to win the hole for Jason Owen. That's the positive. The negative side of the equation is it's a bit of a slick one. And if he trundles this on past, he's going to be left with a bit of a smelly one on the way back to make sure that he doesn't lose anything in this hole. And Dean Scott, his opponent, just watching the drama unfold. He's going to be asked to putt at some point, Dean. And if Jason holes this, it'll be a putt for a half that his opponent has to make. In it goes. Well done. Putting game holding up so far, even if the lower back isn't. And for Dean Scott now, this is a tricky one. This will break. Got to be very confident with this strike. Oh, just a little shove towards the hole, but in it drops. An honourable half again, and these two were getting into a very tasty and increasingly tense battle. Both players had their chances to win the fourth. Jason from downtown and finishing up in the neighbourhood. Dean, though, from way upstate and off a tricky lie, but finding a cracking putt to put pressure on his opponent. It's been played in great spirit, this match, these two laughing and chatting away as they've been coming down the fairways, but they haven't given an inch when they've got to the greens, not even an inkling here that Jason Owen was going to say to Dean Scott, pick it up. So Dean required to putt this one out on a very tricky green, the fourth. Well done. Another slightly tentative knock towards the hole, but in it goes. And he marches away, resolutely determined not to let Jason Owen off the hook. So Owen has to make this for half. His putting strokes held up very well so far. Oh my goodness. Tough break for Jason, and his reaction showed the possibility of missing that putt and losing the hole hadn't even entered his mind for the briefest of moments. But lose it he did, leaving Dean to take the lead, one up, going down the fifth. At 5, Dean was still in good shape, even though he wasn't on the green in regulation. But he got a wee bit punchy with this chip, and then the outlook wasn't quite so rosy. In all honesty, one of those chips that Dean Scott would have loved to have just taken back, but he can't. Got to make the best of a bad job. And that is a nice strike. Oh yes. Gets the old claw grip out and knocks it in. And he's putting from a longer distance, has looked pretty good today. It's those shorter putts that seem to trouble Dean Scott. And talking of short putts, another one here for Jason Owen. This to win the hole and level the match, as he put what happened at 4 out of his mind. No, a chance goes begging. Still in pain after those 2 missed putts and facing a much longer, slippery test at 6. The belief and confidence in Jason's putting stroke just deserted him. Dean's putt for par to once again put pressure on Jason was a true knee knocker. Literally. But Elvis impersonations aside from Dean, he had his opponent in trouble once again. 3rd hole in a row from the same distance. But this time, Jason rolled it in to settle those jangling nerves. Dean, though, still hung on to that lead. At the par 3 7th, Dean gave Jason a chance when his putt for par trailed off to leave the door open. No gimme for Jason, but chances like this you have to take if you want to win match play titles. It was a familiar old story though. That follow through longer than the backswing, ball short of the hole. Jason ruining another chance missed, and his emotions getting the better of him. Dean Scott still one up, stroke index 1/8, however, tends to get the amateurs playing a little conservatively to avoid trouble. Jason carved himself out a long distance chance to square the match, but never really pressured the cup. Don't stop believing, as the song says, but Jason Owen running out of chances here to affect this semi-final, and he's got another nervy putt. That's a confident strike from Jason, and he'll be wondering where on earth were those putts when he needed them earlier in the day. No option other than to ask Dean Scott to hole out for the half. I guess Jason Owen had to do that. But they've done it all through the match, these two. It's almost felt like stroke play with some of the putts that these two have asked each other to hold today. But look at that, still mates, heading to the 9th tee. Down the last though, it all fell apart for Dean, and don't worry Dean, we won't show the pictures, just to protect the innocent. Into the greenside bunker, he couldn't escape, and this putt from Jason Owen all but academic, the hole already conceded. All square after 9, these two then off to the first to begin the sudden death playoff. Jason incredulous that he was still in this tournament. That problem at 9 definitely got to Dean, and the momentum was with Jason on the first playoff hole. But Dean tried to stay in there fighting, this approach once again leaving the players in a potentially decisive putting contest. 20 minutes ago, if he'd offered Jason Owen a chance to get to a playoff situation, he'd have bitten your hand off because he looked down and out. Now, brave decision here, he's going with loft from the fluffy stuff, and that's checked up on him. So this hole not over and done with just yet. There was a real chance here to put Dean Scott away, and he hasn't taken it. Now, it's not all good for Dean, but at least his destiny is in his own hands. So a putt for bogey, but if he makes it, essentially that means that Jason Owen has to make his putt for a half, and they will go to the second. Oh, it's a good strike. Oh, it's not dropped. Putt conceded. It's about the only one that has been conceded today between these two. And after throwing that ball back to Dean Scott, Jason Owen threw his baseball cap over there to his golf bag. He wants a completely clear view of this putt to win the match. What a morning it's been. One to tell the grandchildren in years to come, I think. Jason Owen then for a place in the final. What a roller coaster ride for both players. Dean Scott just one hole away from getting the job done, but he let Jason Owen into the match, and Jason pounced to take his place in the final, courtesy of that win at the first playoff hole. Time to find out who he'll meet in the title match then, as semi-final 2 between 2nd seed Reece Hunt and 3rd seed Steve Holmes is about to tee off, and it should be another close encounter. Gemma Kerr is with the players.
What does it feel like to be here in the semi-finals at the Belfry?
Very privileged, to be fair. I only started playing golf a year ago, last year, so come a long way since then, and yeah, proud of myself to get this far and qualify to get up here and play today.
Here we are, semi-finals. How does it feel to have got this far?
It feels amazing, absolutely amazing. I never expected anything like this. So to turn up and to qualify for the semi-finals has been brilliant.
So do you have any expectations for today?
None at all. Just get out there, enjoy it as I have done all weekend. Whatever happens, happens.
They all say that, but exactly what did happen at the first? Well, Steve Holmes got first go at the pin, and a quality kick off the slope to the bunker ended up in a great position on the green. Tough to believe that Reece Hunt has only been playing for a year, but he really has worked hard, and this approach proved that there's a fair amount of natural talent there also. And guess what? The harder he practices, the better he gets. An intriguing matchup, this one. The wily club captain in the background there watches on as the relative newbie putts for a birdie at the first. Looks good. Oh, it is good. What a start from Reece Hunt. About 19 years less experience in the sport than the man he's playing today. And he's loving it, isn't he? Little look back to the camera. Yes, Reece, we saw it. Steve Holmes then, with the first test of this semi-final. And he hasn't quite passed it. Reece Hunt then off to an absolute flyer, goes one up. His first big tournament, and he looks completely at home in front of the cameras here at the Belfry. And the proof was in the pudding. One up down the second, and he stayed one up with a simple half. Reece, though, had a wee bit of trouble at the par 5 third coming over the water, and left Steve Holmes with this putt to square the match. And square it he did. Back to where we started, all square, heading down the fourth. More water at 4, and this time both players went in the drink at the front of the green. And both players chipped on and putted out for a soggy half. At the 359-yard par 4 fifth, things got interesting again when Reece showed great hands to put this chip close and apply the pressure. Steve also from off the green opted for the wand, but there certainly wasn't much magic involved. He's taken most things in his stride at this tournament as Steve Holmes, but he's kicking himself after that. And he may not get another putt because he's left Reece Hunt with a chance to win the hole and go back into the lead. A fantastic up and down from Reece and rewarded with a return to 1-up in the second semi-final. But would you believe it, he did it again. Reece found the water at 6, he did recover well. But Steve was certainly eyeing a chance to go all square once again, and potentially without the need to putt this time around. Up the slope to the top tier, a very difficult read on this green. It was a superb effort from Reece, but it stayed above ground. His hard-earned lead gone for a second time in the match, all square heading to the par 3 7th. At 7, Steve Holmes' tee shot was class. As the old gunslinger found the target and put his young opponent under pressure again. Reece couldn't respond and Steve had 2 putts to win the hole, which he used wisely to claim the lead for the first time in the match and march to the 8th, 1-up. At 8, Steve caught the camera operator out with a towering approach, which landed right next to the flag. And suddenly, from 1-up at 6, just 20 minutes earlier, Reece Hunt was looking at a possible exit on the 8th green. But that's match play for you. He stayed so calm in this second semi-final, Steve Holmes. Bided his time, but when the chances have arrived, he's taken them in style. 2 putts then for a place in the final, and that's going to be enough. Congratulations to Steve Holmes and commiserations to Reece Hunt. The Penn Golf Club captain then moves into the final. Reece will take on Dean Scott in the 3rd-4th playoff, but we'll be focusing on the action from the final. Jason Owen versus Steve Holmes for the American Golf individual title, coming up after the break, right here on Sky Sports. It's time for another final on the American Golf Championship Tour here at the Belfry as the 2 contenders for the individual title prepare to take on the back 9 of the Brabazon and each other, of course. The 3rd-4th playoff is between our 2 losing semi-finalists, Reece Hunt and Dean Scott, but our focus will be on the final as Jason Owen takes on Steve Holmes for the trophy and that seat on the plane to Mauritius for the Tournament of Champions. So we're good to go. Gemma Kerr spoke to the finalists before they headed to the 10th tee.
Okay, so now let's talk about the final. What is your plan? What are your thoughts?
Same as what I told you before, just it is what it is. If I win, I win. If I don't, well, I've had a cracking time. It doesn't matter, does it? It's just a game of golf, there to enjoy it, end of the day.
Through to the final, how does that feel?
It does feel truly amazing. I can't believe it. Came in with no expectations and to get to the final has been fantastic. Can't wait.
And most players can't wait to take on the iconic 10th, where in 1985 the great Seve Ballesteros drove the green and birdied the hole to go into the Ryder Cup history books. Europe, under captain Tony Jacklin, eventually going on to end the USA's 13 victory winning streak. And just for a bit of fun, without using the internet, can you tell me who Seve's foursome's teammate was when he hit that famous shot? I'll tell you in a minute. In the meantime, not going for the green but driving to position A, Steve Holmes struck the first blow of the final with a magnificent approach. Unfortunately for Jason, his approach went into the water, which left this chip after a drop which had to go close, and it was nicely played, but he knew he was in trouble. Steve Holmes then with his first big chance of this final, but he's got to be careful here. Very easy for this putt to get away from you coming down this slope on these rapid Brabazon greens. Whoa, 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 and that's exactly what's happened, and that might not be as straightforward as Steve was hoping. Now, the answer to my earlier question, Manuel Pinheiro, incidentally, was Seve's foursome's teammate back in '85. Steve then, to try and get this job done. No, and that is very messy from Steve Holmes. That's uncharacteristic of the Penn Golf Club man. And you can see the frustration on his face there. He's trying to keep that hidden from Jason Owen, but he's gutted, and Owen can still half this. Neither player exactly covering themselves in glory at 10, but Steve Holmes won't be complaining as he finds himself one up heading to 11. But Steve got himself in a bit of a pickle at the 11th and once again left himself with a tricky pressure putt. I mentioned foursomes earlier. If you'd been Steve Holmes' foursomes partner today, you'd have been kicking his backside around the belfry. He's left himself with a couple of shockers. And Steve hands the advantage straight back to Jason, who picks up an unexpected bonus at 11. Thumbs up, it's back to all square. Onto the charming 179-yard par 3 12th, a hole that usually produces a bit of drama, especially with the flag cut on the bottom tier, unlike the flag position on the top tier here on our flyover. It's a risky business shooting for the flag so close to the water, but overcook the tee shot and the top tier leaves you with an absolute stinker of a putt coming down the slope. Get too cute and try and use the slope to stop the ball, and any spin could have you fishing to get your ball back. He had a proper bounce in his step walking away from the 11th green, did Jason Owen, and I reckon he's backed himself here. He's going pin hunting, you know, he's going pin hunting. Oh, what a shot from Jason Owen. And that certainly warrants a celebration, and as I believe the youngsters say, boom. So, all the momentum at the moment with Jason Owen, and that puts a little bit of pressure back on his opponent, but Steve Holmes has dealt with that well today. Now he's going with a rescue and just run it up. But this is going right, and this is a problem. Oh, straight in the water. And a big splash for Steve Holmes. And the door is open for Jason Owen to take the lead here. Well, a good recovery from Holmes to the front of the green. And he'll know that in terms of match play, if he can knock this one in, he will at least ask a question once again. Oh, unlucky. The old cling film bridge there. He gave it a chance. But now he's got to watch and wait. Owen with a couple of putts to go one up. But knowing this young man's character, he'll want to hole this. And he does hole it, and check this out. So focused on his game, it's his match play opponent, a rather taken aback Steve Holmes, that he goes to for the fist bump celebration. It's a funny old game. At 13 and looking to hang on to his lead, Jason ran this little chip into the green to set up another chance. While Steve was once again scrambling and looking like he was going to be removed from the equation. Confidence will be high for Jason Owen with putter in hand after that terrific effort at 12. Similar distance, much easier putt actually, and never up, never in. I'm very surprised at that. I thought Jason Owen would give that a good chance, and from almost nowhere, Steve Holmes has been presented with an opportunity here. Not to level the match, but certainly to save the day. He wouldn't have fancied 2 down going to 14. So this putt for a half. And it's those unexpected bonuses that sometimes prove to be the catalyst in a close match. 1 down heading to 14, but a save for the half meant Steve was still in touch. The second of the 2 par 3s on the Brabazon back 9, the 166-yard 14th, and that flag position is one of the better options for attacking this hole. But did anyone feel like attacking? He's played some good golf this week as Steve Holmes, but I think his greatest strength has been his mental approach. He's been very patient. He's made some very good decisions when they've needed to be made. And he just seems to have this innate ability to know when a good shot is required, and that is a terrific shot right into the heart of this 14th green, and that's a bit of pressure past to Jason Owen. Still 1 up, but in his heart of hearts he'll feel that he probably should be 2 up, and that can play funny tricks on the mind. And this is bowled. No, so misses high up the bank to the right hand side of this 14th green. An opportunity for Steve Holmes to level this match then, unless Jason could get some pressure on with his chip. But these slick greens need some serious control on the ball, and from the fluffy stuff, that was never going to happen. Jason ended up racing it past by a long way. And then in what looked like a misguided tribute to Lewis Hamilton, he raced it all the way back and passed the hole again. All touch deserting Jason Owen at 14, and that means that Steve Holmes has 2 putts from here to win the hole and square the match. A little bit handsy on that one, and he's underhit it again. So this hole not done and dusted, and if Jason Owen makes his putt, that one could be a little bit ticklish for Steve to win the hole. So Jason to force the issue here. He never gave it a chance. Back to all square then as we head to 15 with this final in the balance. He led through the first 2 rounds, and now Steve Holmes is back in business in this match play final. Can the Penn Golf Club captain continue his great form and claim the title? His dangerous opponent Jason Owen will certainly have other ideas. More from this final coming up after the break here on Sky Sports. Welcome back to the final of the American Golf Individual Championship here at the Belfry. It's all square in this 9-hole match play contest as the players head down the 488-yard par 5 15th. Let's get back to the action. There's some big old rain clouds moving in over the Belfry, so don't be fooled by this little sunny spell. The rain is just starting to fall. Steve Holmes, before he puts the waterproofs on, with his approach to the 15th. And he's rescued the situation in this final, got it back to all square, but he's got a bit of work to do from there. And here comes the rain. Jason Owen with a bit of shelter, but not for the right reasons. He hacked his approach almost at a right angle into the trees, but he's got sight of the green, and he's extricated himself very well indeed. Beautiful shot from Jason Owen to get back in this hole. And there you go, double thumbs up this time, and look at that rain coming down. As quickly as that rainstorm arrived, it has departed. Steve Holmes from the second cut, he has never looked convinced about this one, and he's had a look at this putt from a number of different angles, and that, I'm afraid, Steve, he'll be the first to admit, was a hit and hope. Well, not much of a hit and not much hope now, as that disappears off down the slope. Well, would you believe it? Classic match play. Jason Owen has been in the trees, brilliant recovery. And now he's in with a chance here. This is not an easy putt for Steve Holmes. And he's got to make this to force his opponent to putt for a half. If he doesn't make this, the door's open for Jason Owen. Just about makes it up the slope. And still work to be done for Steve Holmes. Little sign of frustration as he looks at the camera. We feel your pain, Steve. But now all he can do is just stand there and watch to see if Jason Owen can steal this hole away from him and steal the lead in the final. Another rather nervous prod towards the hole. No conviction about that putt from Jason. So he holes out, and he's going to make Steve Holmes putt as well for the half. Well, that was an opportunity for a few mind games there, but Jason's playing this one by the book. He wants his opponent to hole everything. Still no breaking the deadlock between these two, and it is starting to get very intense indeed. One spark of brilliance, or the other less palatable option, a horrible mistake, likely to be decisive in this final. So all square down 16, the green nestled there in amongst the trees, and it's a green that Steve Holmes has arrived at with a chance to win the hole, and it's a big chance. 2 putts from here, because Jason Owen is about 5 feet away, and even if he makes his putt, Steve will still have one to go ahead in this match. His one real Achilles heel today has been leaving putts short. And that's a terrific effort. He was so determined to give that one a proper wrap. And once again, it's not going to be conceded. Well, even in the heat of battle, both players have found a chance to have a little bit of a mess around with the camera. Owen then for par. But all that does is force his opponent to make his putt. And Jason Owen wanders away rather disconsolate. And Steve Holmes rushes in to line this one up. He looks confident, he looks comfortable. And he looks to me like he's going to take the lead right here in this individual final. There was a feeling of inevitability about that outcome. Steve Holmes then won up for the first time since the 10th, and still talking a good game, Jason Owen, but he's in big trouble with 2 holes to play. Onto the monster 530-yard par 5, 17th next, and Jason Owen's final just got worse. It was a lovely strike, it was the right club, but it was just offline and into the trap to the right of the green. Steve Holmes, for all his smiles and pleasant demeanour, has shown no mercy in the match play contest so far, especially when his opponents have been in trouble, and it was no different at 17. He found a fantastic approach. Up to the green and facing another tricky bunker shot onto a rapid Brabazon putting surface, Jason got himself back into play, but he knew that Steve could finish this final at any time. Steve didn't produce the grandstand finish that he was looking for, but he certainly didn't relieve any pressure on Jason when he rolled this putt close. Shades of semi-final 2, Steve biding his time and then delivering the killer blow. All Jason Owen can do here is control the controllable. So if he holds this, we will be going down the 18th. But that particular scenario now looks unlikely. So he's going to roll this one in, and then he just has to keep his fingers crossed that the man who's looked so cool all day is going to crack under the pressure of holding this putt to win the title. Steve Holmes then for the trophy. Steve makes the putt and makes his own little bit of Belfry history with a 2-1 victory over Jason Owen. Well played, lads, but congratulations to Steve, the 2017 American Golf individual champion. Confirmation of the final results then. Reece Hunt took 3rd place with a solid 3-2 win over Dean Scott, but to the victor the spoils as Steve Holmes takes down Jason Owen to claim the trophy presented by Daniel Gathercole of American Golf, and that seat on the plane to the Tournament of Champions.
So here we are, you've just won a trip to Mauritius.
I cannot believe it. Came here with no expectations whatsoever, just to come and enjoy it, but to actually win it, I'm just over the moon. It's amazing, amazing feeling.
And you had a tough competitor.
Very tough competitor in Jason. I played 18 holes with Jason yesterday and I knew he was a tough competitor. Lovely guy. Congratulations on Jace to get into the final as well. We've met some fantastic people over the last few days here. Congratulations to everybody who's taken part, but to be the overall winner, it's just not sunk in yet.
Well played, Steve. Another champion takes his place on the Tour Honours Board along with all of this season's winners so far. 15 down then and just 2 to go as we roll on to event number 16 on the calendar. Next week at the Belfry, the return of an old favourite as the 9-hole pairs championship is up for grabs here on Sky Sports. And then it's time for our last event of the season as the eagerly anticipated Scratch Championship makes its tour debut, followed by a chance to enjoy the best of this year's action in our pre-Christmas season review. Join us next week then for the pairs shootout as the teams go for glory and a place at the Tournament of Champions. Match play drama once again to decide our winners, and some great golf to look forward to on the show as some of the players found their A games when it really mattered. More ace action on Sky Sports next week. We'll see you then.